I decided to start chasing a wee bit more whimsy in my life, so I made this wonderful moss rug, and boy, does it bring me joy. So let me show you how. It starts off with having the right tools, so I created a handmade yarn gauge, a few pom-pom makers, got myself a nice little latch hook. So you have to make sure you get one with the little thing that moves at the bottom, the little lever. Good pair of sharp scissors, a tapestry needle, also needed a little bit of regular needle and thread, and a crochet hook. And then I went to town finding all the green yarns I could find. There are more that I use than are even in this video, but I found fuzzy yarns, and I found eyelash yarns, and then I found these weird like multi-string yarns that look like grass and wildflowers. They're so wonderful. This red one I thought was great until I saw the red, and then I didn't like it anymore. Some velvet chenille. Oh, it's so soft, so fuzzy. This regular worsted yarn in different size weights. I've got this thick one. I got some regular sized ones. I even have one that's really, really skinny. It's not here. I didn't show you right here, but I had to double it up for all my latch hook. Some regular worsted. Then I got this great scrubby yarn, but I didn't use it because I didn't like the sparkle. And I also got glow in the dark yarn, but it was way too bright for my moss rug, so it didn't get used either. But this chunky chenille wool, oh my goodness gracious, it was so awesome. So thick and so delightful. Oh. All right, to use latch hook or to do latch hook, you want to make sure that all your pieces are the same length. So I created this little cardboard doohickey. It's 3 pieces of cardboard stuck together, with the middle one being slightly smaller, so that after you're finished wrapping all of your yarn, there's a channel for the scissors to go down and cut. So all your yarn ends up being roughly the same shape. In this case, my yarn gauge cardboard thing was about 1.5 inches wide. So my pieces were about 3 inches long, which is maybe about a half an inch too long, but it's fine. So if you've never latch hooked before, this is a very quick tutorial. You stick your latch hook under your plastic canvas. You make sure the ends of your yarn are lined up. You stick it on the end of the hook. And then as you pull the hook back through, you see the little lever flip back over. You're going to pull it all the way through. You're going to pull your yarn past the lever, turn, catch the other yarn, and bring it through. It's as simple as that. It's actually very simple once you get the hang of it. And trust me, if you're going to do a moss yarn or moss rug like this, you're going to do lots of latch hooking, and you'll get used to it really fast. I actually find that I'm really kind of chaotic trying to show you how to do some of these things because I'm not really very good at demonstrating, or I get nervous. And then on the back, the great thing is you can just blend your yarns however you want, and it's wonderful. The next method I used was crocheting the moss or the yarn directly onto the canvas mesh. I'm not very good at showing this, but I kind of just jammed the latch hook under a couple of the cross beams. I caught it, I brought it through, and then I brought it through the loop that was still on my latch hook. So kind of like single crochet, but just maybe a little bit different, and using the latch hook instead of a crochet hook. The nice thing with the latch hook is it actually captures the yarn and brings it through with the little lever. I'm really very, very clumsy showing you here because I just am. I'm very sorry for that. But I put it through like a couple of the things and latch it and bring it through and pull the loop that was still on all the way. And I say that because there's another method I use later where you don't pull the loop all the way. So anyways, when you're ready to finish off, or cast off, you just pull your yarn through the loop that you left on the hook. So this is the looped yarn. This is the looped moth method. It's very similar to crocheting. You're going to stick your hook under, you're going to capture a piece, but you're going to leave a loop out. This is really very clumsy. I'm not showing you very well here. So you put the hook through your mesh, capture some yarn, make sure you leave a loop, you pull the tail piece through, and then so catch it with the lever, yeah, and then pull it under. There you go. And then pull the loop through, and then you want to hold that loop while you pull everything else tight. So it leaves the loop above. And I love the texture so much, but I'm not very good at describing how to do it. Oh, well, okay. So loop, pull it through, pass the lever, capture the other one, pull it up, hold it tight, and pull. There you go, another loop. So you do that, and you can go in any direction you want. There's no rhyme or reason. You can get whatever kind of crazy loops you want. I love it. Now, thick yarn, you have to treat a little bit differently. And this like ridiculously uber thick yarn, there was no way to latch hook it. So really, it's just pull one end through from the backside. You got to pull hard because it's really thick. Really thick. It's thick. How do they say that? Thick? Anyway, you pull it through, and it's basically just sort of a loop through on one side, but you can see that's in there pretty snug. And when you get a whole bunch of them close together, look at how great that is. So much fun. So I was talking about thick yarn having to treat a little bit differently. This yarn is maybe not quite thick enough, but it was thick enough to show you why I needed to show you. When you have really thick yarn, when you latch hook right beside each other, it's too much. Like it's almost too much yarn in too small a space. So when you're doing latch hook with really thick yarn, or in my case, I used it mostly with that fuzzy yarn that had the multiple strands, you kind of skip one in between and then do the opposite one on the next row. So you're kind of creating like this checkerboard effect. And again, see how you can kind of see the mesh through this one, even when it's all standing up like that? It's better when it's the really thick stuff and then you can't see it. This was sewing moss, or I guess it could also be embroidery moss. I don't know how you want to say it, but I used the lovely little tapestry needle, and this chenille yarn did not latch hook very nicely. So it was like perfect for this method because it's kind of short but still fuzzy. And basically I just looped it through. I'd skip a hole and then just keep going. It was so fast and so easy. And again, you can kind of go in any direction you want to go in. I just stayed in a line for this. It just made it easier for me to see where I was putting the hook. And again, it's so easy to tie off once you get that last one through. Just tuck your needle around the back. You can feed it under the yarn that's already there and just tie it off. You don't really want any sort of this stuff, like end pieces hanging out, because it doesn't have the same texture as the rest of the yarn there. All right, pom-poms. This is, again, I made little pom-pom makers. I left a channel in the middle so it was an easy way for my scissors to get in. I'm using a nice thick moss here. I don't know how many times I ran it around the pom-pom maker. I just put it through a whole bunch of times. You want to keep a string already in there. And then when you tie it, you want to tie it twice so that when you pull it, it kind of makes sort of a lock and you don't sort of lose the tension that you created. But you see how easy it is to get your scissors in that channel and just cut all that yarn? Now, take it off and pull. And this is where, if you just did the single tie, it slips out so easy and you lose the tension you've created in your tie. So I always flip it through twice so that it creates that tension. And then obviously your pom-pom's going to be all kind of wonky. And I guess if it's a moss rug, you don't have to trim it down if you don't want to, but I liked a more uniform one. And I made 3 different sizes, so I thought I would show you 3 different size pom-poms made with the pom-pom makers. They are so easy to attach. Yeah, just bring them through from one side. And I like to leave the tails on the top side because then they just become part of the moss. And you don't want to do it just in one spot. You want to move over and get your other tail so it kind of creates a thicker base for it to attach to. and then tie one side and flip it around, tie the other side, and knot it off, and you're done. Clip your tails and it becomes part of the pom-pom. And voila. And then when you add a couple more, it has this wonderful texture. Look at that. So much fun. This is one of the things I loved about doing this project, all the different textures, all the different softnesses from the different yarns, all the different colors of green, sort of was this wonderful, oh, it was just so much fun. So here we go. I get started. So I took my canvas mesh and I kind of drew a wobbly, sort of mossy patch line around the outside. I just have paper underneath so that I don't mark my table, so the paper moves, whatever. The good thing is you're going to cover all this up, so it doesn't even matter if you don't even like your original design. You're going to cover it up. You won't even see it when you're done. So I made this sort of weird blobby shape, and then I cut about, just around an inch, I guess, further away from my edge. And then you don't have to do this part, but I didn't want the edges of the canvas scratching me. So I spent a fair bit of time actually crocheting with a crochet hook, single crochet around the edge of the whole thing. When you get to a place with a bend, you may have to trim or cut the canvas in order for it to go around the bend easier. But this is not a mandatory step. I did it because I didn't want to get cut with the mesh stuff. And then I found it was sticking up and bothering me. So I just ran a needle and thread. Well, I ran a thread line all the way around just to sort of tack it down. It doesn't get in any of the way of doing any of the latch hook or anything, but it just made for a much nicer time to do it. All right, let's go. I'm not going to show you every day and how long it took me. I think the first day I spent, I don't know, like 9 hours doing this. It was some ridiculous amount of time anyway. And I started with basic latch hook, and I started with that fuzzy yarn, and now I'm just onto some regular baby blanket yarn. And I found that I just went all over the place, all different times. I used different textures when I felt like it. I didn't have a pattern. I just kind of went with the flow, the moss flow, if you will. But again, this thick moss, oh my gosh, it took so much effort to get it through the mesh, but it's so worth it. And then I started doing some crochet moss with the eyelash moss, or the eyelash yarn. This made things so much faster because it went across the mesh way faster than the latch hook or any of the rest of them. But again, it's just one texture, so I didn't want to do the whole thing in the same texture, which is why I did different methods and different yarns. And here's that wonderful fuzzy grass-like yarn that I had to do in the checkerboard pattern because it was too thick once I got it on there. This yarn I thought looked like wildflowers. I thought, oh, how delightful. I'm going to have this little patch of little red wildflowers, and it's going to be so great. But the green is really dark. It's kind of a deep olivey green. And I kind of got bored with that. So I went over and did some latch hooking with the nice fuzzy green yarn that was a little bit more fun. I think the red was throwing me a bit too, so I kind of gave it a rest. I went back to it after and I finished it up and I added some stuff, and I really didn't like the red. So I spent some time picking out all the red wildflowers. And then for the rest of the rug, I just didn't cut the red part. I mean, I took it out of the yarn and just didn't use it. And back to crocheting a little bit. And there, see, it's just that chenille yarn is right where I'm crocheting. I did that as latch hook and I didn't really like it. So I didn't do it again. I did it in one spot. That's it. So there we go. End of day one. Again, 9 hours, like crazy amount of time. Did not get very much done. And this is not a very big rug when I'm finished. And then I didn't show you any of the work on day 2, but there I filled it in a little bit. Day 2, I only had a few hours. Wasn't very long. Day 3, also not as much time, but I still got a good chunk done. I'm getting there. Day 4, another big day. I spent a lot of time doing this. You can see I have very little of my canvas mesh left. Day 5, these must have been the weekends because I spent more time doing them. By the end of day 5, I only had this little bit left to go. But look at that. Oh, so fluffy. So here we go. This is the beginning of the end. I have this tiny little sort of 2-inch by 2-inch patch left to go. Now, one thing I didn't mention in any of this is anywhere I did latch hook with just regular yarn, I ended up going back in and trimming it kind of the same way I trimmed the pom-poms. And I don't show it anywhere, but it really helped clean it up a bit. The final look is much nicer once it's been trimmed. Oh, look at all these different textures, and look at, even the back's kind of got a funky look to it. You can see where the cross or the latch hook is versus some of the other ones. All right, to finish it up, I didn't want to just put that on the floor, so I ended up purchasing some of this rubberized fabric from Amazon. I just ordered it. And that rug was so thick that I couldn't even pin it. So I had to sort of go by a wing and a prayer, and I sewed down the edges by tucking in all the yarn as I went, backside or front side to front side. And then I didn't realize my camera wasn't filming anymore, so I missed a whole bunch of it. But basically, you just go around the whole edge with just a very simple whip stitch or blanket stitch. I don't even know what those are called. And once you're done, you leave a little space open so you can flip it all inside out like a pillow. And then you just see, there you go. That's the part I missed filming. Now we're to the part where I've already flipped it right side out, and I finished doing a blanket stitch on the outside here to finish off that last little bit. And oh my gosh, I was so happy when I got to this. I was like, oh my gosh, it's done. Just look at that. Look. Oh, so fuzzy. So much joy this little rug has brought me. And it's so, I just love it. Oh. If you get a chance and you ever want to do one, I strongly suggest it. The whimsy is wonderful. Thanks so much for watching, and have yourself a great day.